الحمد لله الذي علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان والصلاة والسلام على خير الأنام نبينا وسيدنا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين صلوا على رسول الله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد صلاة تفتح لنا أبواب الرضا والتيسير وتغلق بها عنا أبواب الشر والتعسير أنت مولانا فنعم المولى ونعم النصير اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد طب القلوب ودوائها وعافية الأبدان وشفائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها وقوت الأرواح وغذائها وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to benefit from the knowledge of Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayh and to shower him with his mercy, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Imam Nawawi, in this chapter, he mentions in the book Tibyan fi Adabi Hamlatul Quran how a student must enter and exit the lesson of his teacher. The student visits his shaykh with the most excellent traits, keeping himself tidy with everything we have just mentioned concerning the teacher, cleanliness, regular use of the toothstick, and a free heart of preoccupying matters. So the student, just as the shaykh is supposed to come and the teacher is supposed to come and present himself in the most nicest way, wear the nicest clothes, be presentable, smell good, look good, be an example, the same thing, the student is not supposed to be looking raggedy when coming to class. He's also supposed to dress well. I remember when my mother used to send me to school, she always put a sweater vest on top of me. So of all of the students, they're all wearing banyans and like Under Armour t-shirts, and the Muslim child is the one that's, mashallah, well dressed. Subhanallah. You think that doesn't leave an impact on the teacher? It does. It leaves an impact on the teacher. So we need to make sure that when we send our own children to school, don't just make them wear gym clothes. This is a marad. I don't know why everyone wears gym clothes. They wear gym clothes when they go outside. They wear gym clothes when they take their wives out for dinner. They wear gym clothes everywhere. It's as though there's no other attire. But even if you're wearing American dress, you have button-down shirts, you have sweaters. I mean, dress appropriately and presentable, And this is what I always tell the students of Deen Teens as well, that when you dress to impress, especially when you're going to class, especially when you're going in a place of learning. Sometimes they think, I'm going to be here for 8 hours, who cares? This who cares mentality, this is not the way of Muslims. Even when you go to school, public school, wherever you go, make sure you dress well. Dress so that you stand out. As Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, sallu ala Rasulullah, he advised the Sahaba, be like a beauty mark in society. That when they look at you, they're like, wow, look at these Muslims. Look how beautiful they dress. Just by looking at you, they know, هذا Muhammadi. This is someone who follows the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They just know that this person is a Muslim. It doesn't have to be taqiyya, it doesn't have to wear a long hat like myself. If you wear a topi, sure, even better, okay? But just dressing nicely, just dressing appropriately. This is what we need to do as Muslims, especially students when they're going in front of the teacher, and also brushing their teeth, things of that nature, and also preparing for the class. Don't just showing up last minute and bringing a pen, bringing a notebook, so that it shows seriousness from the student and the teacher. He does not enter without seeking permission when the shaykh is in a place that requires permission. If the shaykh is in his house and you have class in his house, this is usually the case overseas. It's not the case here. But overseas, you would go to the shaykh's house. The section of the house is for students in istiqbal. Over here, we have the imam's office. So if you see me in the masjid, you don't have to come and ask permission to come in the masjid. Astaghfirullah. This is the house of Allah. You have right to it as much as I have right to it. We're all the servants of Allah Azza wa Jal. But if you go into the office, you knock. Sometimes people, they just open the door. No. Knock, seek permission, and then enter. If you go in the shaykh's house, you knock, seek permission, and then enter. So these are the etiquettes that a student should have with his teacher, and people should have with their leaders. The student greets the attendees upon entering, and then singles out his teacher with his greeting. But this depends. Let's say there's a big halaqah. We're talking about, imagine there's like a big muhadara. A shaykh is speaking, he's giving a class, and there's 300 attendees. For you to come inside the masjid and be like, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Everyone's attention is gone. Even the teacher, he's like, what happened? Where am I? What was I talking about? I don't know what's going on. Or someone coming in the middle of the khutbah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Don't talk during the khutbah. Like, they're learning to read the room. if it's appropriate for you to come, let's say the shaykh is in the middle of a conversation, he's in the middle of teaching, and there's 40, 50 students in front of him, and you're saying, Salaamu Alaikum wa Rahmatullah. Now everyone's attention is going to go on you. The shaykh forgets where he is, the students forget. Khalas, dhahab ad-dars. Let's just cancel the class, let's just go and just talk now. It happens, I'm sure you all know that, so we need to be very, very careful to do that. But if it's a classroom setting, like a small, like 5, 4, 6 students like that, like a Quran halaqah, you give salams to everyone, Assalamu alaikum, and then you give special salams to the teacher. A question that sometimes people ask, if someone is reading Quran, should you bother them by giving them salams? No, you shouldn't. If I'm reading Quran and now you see me, my heart is in it. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Innal ladhina qalu rabbuna Allah. And then you say, Assalamu alaikum. I'm reading, now I have to give you salam. Or someone is making dua and you see that they're crying. Ya Allah, please forgive me. Ya Allah, please forgive me. Brother, Assalamu alaikum. This is not that time, man. People need to learn. Like if someone is doing dua, someone is just praying, just finished 2 rak'ahs, someone just came for tahiyyatul masjid and you want to be like, Assalamu alaikum, brother, Assalamu alaikum. Nah, هذا ليس وقته. And even, wallahi, some etiquette says, though people have lost it. If someone is eating food and you see that they're eating, to say, Assalamu alaikum, brother, now you're going to make me move, my hands are dirty with food on it, and then I have to, of course, out of adab, the person, he's going to respond, he's probably going to shake his hand, right? But that person shouldn't have done that in the first place. Don't put people in inconvenience. These are basic matters that Islam teaches us. I mean, some people they're accustomed to that. If they say Assalamu alaikum, if one person responds, the whole obligation of everyone falls. So it's just like an etiquette. You come in, you say Assalamu alaikum, and then one person, 2 people respond, it's fine. But it's not an obligation on every individual person to then respond. So yeah. But again, just the ability to read the room and knowing when it's appropriate, when it's not appropriate. Islam, Allah gave us common sense for us to use in situations like that. Likewise, he bids farewell to him when he departs, just as it is related in the hadith. The first is no more deserving than the second. The first salam is no more deserving than the second. Meaning, when you give salams to enter, also give salams when you leave. Basic adab. Don't just disappear, but give salams as you enter and give salams as you leave. This hadith is in Al-Adab al-Mufrad by Bukhari. The student does not step over people and sits wherever the assembly's perimeter happens to be. Meaning he's not climbing over just so he can get closeness to the shaykh. Wherever you find the seat, you find the seat, inshallah. Unless the shaykh gives him permission to come forward or he knows from the behavior of the other students that they prefer it. Let's say there's a scholar giving a class and another scholar just has come in the masjid. What are they usually going to do? Ta'al shaykh, come sit here. Because people also want to benefit from you, and also it'll give more nur to the class if there's more people of knowledge sitting on the panel, right? So then you would be like, no, ta'al shaykh, ta'al. Or for example, we would have class in when I was in Medina, where our teacher, the senior Shaykh Abdullah Mas'ud, he would be teaching, but one of the much elder shuyukh, he himself is a shaykh in his own part, but we're listening all to our shaykh. He sits to the corner of the shaykh right next to him, where he's sitting on the sofas and we're on the floor. Why? Because he was an expert in lugha. So if there was any corrections in the students in how they were pronunciating and whatnot, making dhamma, fatha, kasra in i'rab, he would be correcting. So that's why shaykh would always have him sitting next to him. So like that. Some shuyukh might have a specialty here, there. So really it depends. Unless there's a maslahah to it, unless there's a need for it. He does not let someone rise from his place, and if someone does give him preference, he declines it still, following the example of Ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma. So if someone gets up because they, out of respect for you, even then you should be like, no, you stay in your spot, don't worry. He should do this even though this person might be younger than him, but out of his own humility and out of his own piety, he should just let that person stay, because the one who sat there first, they have more right to it. Unless the shaykh is requesting him to come forward, or there is a benefit for all of the students, like the example I gave, okay? He does not sit in the middle of the circle except out of necessity. He does not sit between 2 companions except with their permission. Don't just squeeze between people, even in Jum'ah, unless they make room for you, and then you sit in between them properly, nicely. Question. There's a mas'ala that comes up in fiqh. It's called al-itharu fil qurubat. Okay? Let's say everyone is lining up for Saf al-awwal, for the first line in salah. and you see that there is a big scholar in the second row, should you or should you not allow him to take your spot in the first row? But you're trying to get closer to Allah, so what should you do? This is what the Hanafiya, they say, the Hanafiya, Ibn Abidin specifically, he mentions that if you are, for example, in the first row, and you see someone much older than you, much more knowledgeable than you, or whoever it may be, a person of status that you know is deserving of that more, out of respect for ulama and out of respect for elders, like much, much older, you're saying, then you can, out of the goodness of your heart, give them your spot. Doesn't mean you have to, but out of adab, you should do that, okay? So this is something that we should remember ourselves in Ramadan. Sometimes you will see people praying in the first row, then some of the hufal that are leading alongside, or some shuyukh are visiting, and this is that. And I feel like sometimes people are hesitant in giving their spots, but rather we should have our open hearts. Let them take those spots, because remember, these are people that Allah has given status, people of knowledge, Quran, hifz, and they're actually the ones leading us. And then, inshallah, because of your intention, you also get that reward, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. But we should have al-ithar fil qurubat. If you see a time to do that, then inshallah do so. Also, a student, before he wants to ask a question, he shouldn't just say it, but he should obviously seek permission and then ask. Imam al-Shafi'i, when he was in the classroom of Imam Malik, he used to turn the pages quietly because he didn't want to disturb him. SubhanAllah, look at this adab. He used to turn the pages quietly. Imam al-Shafi'i, his student, al-Rabi', he used to be shy of drinking water in front of Imam al-Shafi'i because out of veneration. So if you want people to show respect to you, then you also have to show respect. So this is, subhanAllah, when you teach adab to your students with other scholars, then they themselves will have adab with you. The same thing as a hadith actually. If you show adab with your parents, then your children are going to show adab with you. SubhanAllah, what goes around comes around. Sitting during the lesson. This is the last portion, then we'll stop here. The student should also have good etiquette with his companions and those attending the assembly of the shaykh. Don't just be a chamcha and a good student to the shaykh, and then all of the other classroom and your classmates, you're bad to them. Some students do that. They just want to be, the golden student of the shaykh, the chamcha. How do you say that in English? I think it's a bad word. You don't want to say it. What is it? Golden boy. The golden boy. I don't know. There's a term for it in English. I don't know if it's an appropriate word. Teacher's pet. Chamcha, that's what we say in Urdu. To be his spoon. And then because of that, you're going to be rude to the other classmates. This is not right. Wallahi, I remember something so powerful. When I called my shaykh one time, and out of respect to my shaykh, the other classmates that are attending with me, they're also imams, they're also shuyukh, they're also educators. They're people that are, in their 30s, this, that. They're educators themselves, and our shaykh is, he's a senior man. And when I referred to my classmates, I didn't say shaykh, which I always do because they're also shuyukh, but I just said by the first name. And my shaykh got upset with me. He said, who are you to not call them shaykh? Say shaykh. And I said, Wallahi shaykhna, I said, I only did it out of respect for you, because how can I call my classmates and people that are so junior to you shaykh in your presence out of adab for you? Like, for example, in the manner of a student, not that of a teacher. Some students, they'll come out, and problem that we have in the West, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, parts of the Arab world, you won't find this, where they'll astaghfirullah, please forgive me, but stretching out their feet in front of the teacher. I don't know how this is possible. Wallahi al-azim, I don't know how this is possible. Sometimes I'm sitting, I'm like, this kid is having his socks laid out right in front of me, and I'm teaching him hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's ajeeb. Imam Abu Hanifa, he was the neighbor of his teacher from several houses away. And when he would sleep and when he would put out his feet, he wouldn't put it towards the direction of the qibla and towards the direction of his teacher's house. And they said, why? He said, because that's the qibla of my salah, and that's the qibla of my knowledge. SubhanAllah, look at this adab. He said, that's my qibla in knowledge, towards the feet of his, he would never put his feet towards his teacher's house, Hamad, just out of adab, let alone right in front of his face. SubhanAllah. Ajeeb. So really we need to remind our children, the parents are really supposed to teach these etiquettes. If this comes from the home, this is the best thing. I have a few stories. There's even I'll mention this story. Sheikh Ayman Suwaid, one of the great Qurra, he mentioned the story of Sheikh AbdulRazzak Junaid, which is one of the great scholars of Syria. Towards the end of his life, he got paralyzed. Part of his body was paralyzed, so he couldn't move. And so he, rahimahullah, was on the floor because a part of his leg couldn't move. So he was resting on the floor. And all of the students, because of his medical condition, they were all sitting on the floor, reading to the Sheikh and benefiting from him. A group of students had come from a faraway land just to visit the Sheikh, okay? And they knocked on the door of the Sheikh's house and whatnot. Sheikh Ayman, he got up. And then he told the Sheikh that there's a group of students, they've come to see you, they want to talk to you, Sheikh, they want to visit you. He said, sure, bismillah, ahlan wa sahlan. When they came, astaghfirullah al-azim, Sheikh AbdulRazzak Junaid, the senior scholar, he's sitting on the floor, and there's couches in the room. Those people that come and visit the Sheikh, if the Sheikh is sitting on the floor, you sit on the floor too. Your parents are sitting on the floor, you sit on the floor too. This is also something that we don't think about. Even when our parents are sitting on the floor, you sit on the floor too. And then, what do? MashaAllah, they come like kings and they sit all on the couches. And the Sheikh is like, he doesn't say anything, adab. He doesn't want to do ghiba, he doesn't want to say anything. He just looks at them like this. He knows that nobody taught them adab. And so they ask the Sheikh, how are you? He said, alhamdulillah. Sheikh, do you have any advice for us? Have taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jalla. He doesn't go in detail. When you have adab with a teacher, his heart opens up anyways. His heart wants to benefit you. You come as a student, Sheikh, I'm just here to learn from you. He'll want to teach you everything he'll come want to give you. And that goes with any mentor in life. If you show humility, anybody will be willing to mentor you. Free of charge, if you just show humility. This is the key. As we mentioned before, أَنزَلَ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً فَسَالَتْ أَوْدِيَةٌ. The deeper, the lower the person, the more humble. The deeper the valley, the more water, the more knowledge. So, and then Sheikh Ayman Suwaid, he got up, this, that. And they say, Sheikh, we seek your permission. He says, خلاص خذوا راحتكم, leave. And then they left. The Sheikh didn't say a single word of that. I remember I had a dream, alhamdulillah, where I saw Sheikh Awama. I visited Sheikh Awama in my dream. And when I saw him in my dream, I was sitting on the floor in the tashahhud position, and the Sheikh was sitting on the chair. This was in my dream. And this is how a student should be. You want to benefit from scholars, don't come arrogantly, come humbly. This goes for even myself. Don't think that, this is me requesting people to do it towards me. Don't do it towards me, I don't care. But when you do it towards teachers and shuyukh and ulama and a'imma, and you want to benefit from anybody, even your teachers, whoever is teaching you, then come so in a humble manner. The way a student should sit in front of the teacher, not as though you're sitting arrogantly, having your feet out and what. Al-adab qabla al-ilm. Islam, إنما بعثت لأتمم مكارم الأخلاق. Rasulullah ﷺ himself, he says, I only came to perfect good character. This is something that we need to always, you're not born with good character. You have to learn it. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to beautify us bil akhlaq al-Muhammadiyah. He does not raise his voice, exaggeratedly laugh, or speak much without need. He does not fidget with his hands or the like. He does not turn right and left without need. Rather, he faces the shaykh, attentive to his words. When the students are distracted in the class, what happens to the teacher? He gets distracted. I'm sure, Dr. Khalid, whoever's ever taught, whenever your students are getting busy with something, or even in meetings, when people are getting distracted, khalas, your dhihin is gone. Your dhihin just gets lost. So that's why the more attentive you are, the more focused you are, the more ihtiram and respect you give your teacher, then the more knowledge you will absorb. For me personally, whenever I sit in front of my shaykh in class, I always make sure that I'm on tahara. I make sure I wear my nice thobe, I wear my kufi, even though it's on Zoom, it's at home. And I always drink some caffeine before, so I can have attentiveness in a week. I can be awake. So when you do these types of things, you'll notice yourself that how much more you start to benefit from the knowledge, rather than how much do we hear, but then how much do we really apply. Really, one lesson, one dars should give us the power to change our lives. Really, one lesson, that's all it takes to just change your lives and shift the direction you're going. The problem is that we hear a lot, but the amal and the adab is where we really need to focus. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as I mentioned, Allahumma zayn akhlaqna bil akhlaq al muhammadiyya ya rabbil alameen. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina wa nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma ja'alna min ahli al Qur'an. Assalamu alaikum.